Today, I'm thinking to talk about a form of argument in philosophy that is called reductio ad absurdum, which is Latin for reduction into the absurd. The idea is that you take a proposition, any proposition, say any proposition P, and from P you start to infer things that follow logically from P. And if you ever on this line of inferences find that P infers not P, in other words, that the proposition itself leads logically to that the proposition itself cannot be true, then you know that you have a proposition that isn't true. It is literally logically impossible for that proposition to be true. And so, you have done a reductio ad absurdum, a reduction into the absurd. And I remember the first reductio argument that I made when I studied philosophy at university. It was interesting. I had always been wondering, because when people say that everything is subjective, which is quite a popular opinion to have, then that just seemed unintuitive to me, and I never really got how that could even be the case. And I was like, that's as good a proposition as any to test a reductio argument on. So I assumed, as one does in a reductio argument, that, okay, let's presuppose for a second that everything is subjective. First of all, what do we mean by that? I thought. Well, when we say that everything is subjective, we don't say that I find it subjectively for me that everything is subjective. Maybe everything is objective to you, or maybe some things are objective, whilst other things are subjective. That's not what we're saying, right? We're saying that it is objectively actually the case that everything is subjective. In other words, the proposition everything is subjective leads to, or consists in it, that everything is not subjective. In other words, P implies not P, which means that the proposition everything is subjective cannot be true. It is literally logically impossible for everything to be subjective, because if everything were subjective, it has to be objectively true that everything is subjective. So yeah, it's a useful and neat form of argument, reductio ad absurdum.